Hello everyone, welcome along. My name is Dave. You are watching Space Dave Live, episode number 19. Awesome to have you with us tonight. So in our studio audience tonight, we've got a few people along here tonight, and we've got a slightly different setup. If you're wondering what's going on there, all will be revealed very shortly. We are a little bit short-staffed tonight, which means that Nana Steph has been promoted to production assistant, which she's very excited about. Okay, everything is going to be absolutely fine. We're all looking forward to seeing how Nana Steph goes on that job tonight. So, yeah, we're going to have a good night tonight. I think we've got lots to talk about. So let's have a look at our program, shall we? So all the usual staff will do the competition, and not really any housekeeping, I don't think, tonight to speak of. We'll get stuck straight into the news fairly quickly. We want to talk about the recent SpaceX launch, the Starhopper test. We've got some good news there, some updates with the Artemis missions to the moon, Lightsail 2, and a few other bits and pieces. A couple of very quick things to look at in the night sky tonight. Not too much to look at, but a couple of quick mentions there. So let's talk about the competition tonight, shall we? So you will see that out here in the audience, we've got Floyd there, all very well positioned with a big Lego set right in front of him there. So what's going to be happening tonight is he is going to be with his friend Cullen, who will be joining us shortly. He is going to be making that Lego set. So it's actually this set here. It's from the Lego City Mars mission set, the new space set that's come out recently. So basically it's a big set there. It's over 1,000 pieces, and the competition tonight will be how many minutes will it take Floyd and his friend Cullen to make the Lego set. So Floyd reckons that he could probably get it together in maybe 1 or 2 episodes, somewhere between 1 and 2 hours with Cullen's help. So we actually need to be timing this, don't we? I guess we can go back on the video and watch the, you ready to time it, Floyd? So when you're ready, get stuck into it, get started. Cullen is off at swimming at the moment. He will be joining us very shortly, and they will just get stuck into it. So away you go, Floyd. Have lots of fun doing that tonight, and we will check in with Floyd and Cullen from time to time. So yeah, as I say, it's just over 1,000 pieces, that set. So I don't know how long it's going to take them, but we will see as the evening progresses. So that's the competition tonight. Remember, by the way, with the competition, to enter the competition, you have to write comp and then your answer, so that we know it is actually a competition entry. Otherwise, we are likely to miss it. So it sounds like it's all coming out on the table there already. Good stuff. Now, last week's competition, what I think about it, if you remember, last week's competition was, should we be covering conspiracy theories, UFO sightings, and things like that on the show? Well, we went through, Jess carefully collated all the answers and all your comments, so there was some really good stuff there, actually. So it was a fairly even split, I think. I think the bottom line is that we do want to cover it a little bit, not too much. I'm actually thinking a good idea would probably be to, in the future, make some more detailed videos separately from the show, and then perhaps we could just have a little bit of a mention of them on the show. It seems like lots of people are happy to have a little bit of coverage, and they think it would be useful, and but don't want to do too much of it on the show. So that's what we're going to do there. Now, I almost forgot to tell you the prize for tonight's competition, but I remembered. It's going to, see, you didn't have to tell me. It's this periodic table mug. It's really cool. So there you go. That's the competition prize tonight, and we can ship that anywhere in the world. So get stuck into the competition. Let's have a quick look at the chats before we get into the rest of it, and just say hi to everyone. Thank you for joining in tonight. So we need to scroll back up again already. So good evening, everybody. I'm just going to quickly whiz down through here. I had a couple of comments from people saying I'm spending too much time trying to read chat messages, so I'll try and do it more quickly. Right, good evening, everyone. That's all I'm going to say there, I think. Awesome. People are already entering the competition. Good on you. You had a power outage, Jay. That's no good. Okay, thanks for your competition entries there. And there's some encouragement for you, Nana. Everyone's backing you on this one. Okay, now Ian, last week I said there was something that I wanted to catch up with you about, but I'd forgotten. I remembered what it was. You had suggested, I think, a couple of times that on the show we could do a little bit of a tour of the Space Centre here. That's a great idea. We will get onto that. Not quite sure when, but we will get onto it. My monitor's turned off on the side over there. What's going on there? It's not very good, is it? Huh. Okay, we won't worry about that. It's not important. Now, what else did I need to talk about? Of course, we need to just do a quick mention of our Patreon page. If you want to help support the show, that is where you do it. Don't need to say anything more about that. And one other thing that I wanted to mention tonight actually was Dan Armstrong, who's been a supporter of the show, and I've mentioned a few times. He has a radio show that he does, and he's running an arc about space-related things at the moment, and his latest episode was an interview about the USS Hornet, which was the ship that went and recovered the first people back from the moon. So go and check that out if you want to. The link is in the show notes. Now, was that all the housekeeping stuff? I think that was all the housekeeping stuff that we wanted to talk about tonight, which is good. It means we can get stuck straight into some space news. So the first thing is a bit of a recap, going back on an issue that we talked about a little while ago, and that is to do with Rocket Lab. I'm sure you'll remember this one. We were talking about whether Rocket Lab should be disclosing all of its payloads or not, because some of them are commercially sensitive, some of them are military applications. So yes, we've had that discussion. We don't need to recap it too much, but I did mention that stuff.co.nz had put in an official information request to find out what was on one of the payloads. Well, it turns out the government has revealed what was on that rocket, and it was a Mexican Defense Agency satellite. So it's a bit of an interesting one, really. To be honest, there's not actually a lot in it. It seems like it was made by students, really. It was more of a test, really, than anything, and it is monitoring, I think mainly the idea is monitoring Mexico's coastline. But anyway, that's what it was, and if you want to go and read the story there, the link is in the show notes. But it says the Space Agency head, Peter Crabtree, said it was developing a process for the proactive release of information about approved payloads. You can go on to read the rest of it, but it does sound like the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment is actually quite keen to be releasing information there, and I got a fairly good feel from reading this article. So what else did it mention? It mentioned that I think SpaceX has revealed pretty much, Rocket Lab has revealed pretty much everything, actually. There's a few things that we're still not sure about, but we know that those were US military payloads. But anyway, go and check it out if you're interested in that. As I say, I actually felt pretty good after reading that story. So that was all there was to that one. So what I want to do next is I want to talk about the SpaceX launch that happened recently. So that was just after the last show. This was CRS-18 on a Falcon 9, the launch to the International Space Station. Pretty much a routine mission, really, these days. So this was the rocket that was launched, but there was a few interesting things that went up in this launch that I think that they are worth talking about. First of all, the rocket itself. If you notice on this part of the rocket there, that's not normally grey, that little bit there. So this is really just for the rocket heads amongst you that are interested in all the details. This is insulation, basically. They've just painted that a slightly different colour to keep the warmth in there. So there's some propellant in there. The long and the short of it is that they're designing this for missions that go a bit longer, and they're wanting to use some propellant a little bit later in the mission, but they need to keep it warmer for longer. So that's really an experiment there to try that one out and see how well that goes. If we have a look right in at the capsule there's a couple of slightly interesting things on there. You'll see a couple of ISS, International Space Station, logos there, or pictures of the station there. That is to indicate that this particular capsule has already visited the space station twice. This is its third mission to the space station. So that's really just an example of the reusability thing, which is very cool indeed, that these things are becoming much more reused. And you'll notice on the right there the Apollo 50th anniversary logo there. That's pretty cool too. Another quick look at the top of the rocket there with the capsule. I'm looking at this little bit here. See those couple of little black bits there? Those are actually experimental heat shields. We might talk about this briefly a little bit later with the Starhopper. So the Starhopper is, or the Starship rocket that's being developed, Elon has actually decided to go back to ceramic tiles for the heat shields. They were going with this funny other system, but the sweating system, but he's actually decided to go back to ceramic tiles now. So these are actually experiments to see how that will go for the upcoming Starship. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty neat that they could get on there. What else did we have to look at here? Oh, now, hang on, I'll just go back a sec. This is the capsule part here with a nose cone on top of it. This is the capsule with most of the scientific and the resupply payload in there. And with the Crew Dragon, that's where the people will be. The bit underneath it is the trunk. That also goes with it to the space station, but that bit at the bottom is unpressurized, so there's no air in that, and the bottom of it is actually exposed to the vacuum of space. It's just open at the bottom. So this is pressurized in there, it's got an atmosphere in it. This is unpressurized, and we'll actually get a view of that later on. And inside that trunk bit at the back is this thing, which is an adapter to go with one of the airlocks on the space station. So this is a docking adapter, International Docking Adapter 3, IDA3. So this is so that the docking adapters on the space station can accommodate different kinds of spaceships from different countries and commercial operations as well. So it's to make the space station a lot more flexible and able to accommodate different types of spacecraft. So that's pretty cool. We will get a quick shot of that later in the launch video. So that's what's going on. Well, that's some of the stuff that's going on this mission, but I want to show you a couple of little videos now to sort of illustrate some stuff. So in fact, the video that I've got here, this has got some audio with it. I'm taking a little bit of a punt here. We are allowed to use this video, that's okay, but you know about the copyright issues we've been having, so I'm actually pushing it a little bit today to see if we get away with this one. So this is just talking a little bit about some of the scientific and interesting payloads that are on this rocket.
The Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company is sending what they hope is the first of many investigations to the ISS National Lab. This initial experiment will evaluate the formation of silica particles in microgravity. Silica is a common material used in consumer tires. However, silica and rubber are materials that don't easily bond. Can the microgravity environment of the space station allow Goodyear to find silica morphologies not possible on Earth? If so, this could lead to improvements in fuel efficiency and other performance factors in consumer tires. The space station is an ever-evolving research platform, and NASA and the ISS National Lab are constantly sponsoring new facilities on the orbiting laboratory to increase the capacity for innovative research. This launch, America's first automated bioprinter for use in space, will make its way to station. Developed by TechShot, this bioprinter will initially seek to print cardiac-like tissue. The printed tissues will remain on station until they are strong enough for the return trip to be analyzed on Earth. While the ability to manufacture human organs is likely many years away, this bioprinter could lead to unique methods of industrial biomedicine and microgravity to develop materials for patient care on Earth. Part of the role of the ISS National Lab is to inspire and educate the next generation. And what better way to do that than by forming fun and exciting collaborations with unique partners? Not many young students understand the term non-Newtonian fluidics in a microgravity environment. However, just about every young student is familiar with Nickelodeon and its iconic slime. So on this mission, Nickelodeon Slime in Space will make its way to station for a variety of demonstrations to educate students on the basic concepts of fluid flow and microgravity compared with normal gravity conditions on Earth.
So there you go, that's some of the quite interesting stuff being sent up. That's pretty cool, eh? Let's carry on and we will watch the launch.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
So pretty straightforward launch really. No problems. Except with the video. Rocket didn't really do that. So yeah, we don't really need to see any more of the launch there. This is just the landing actually, the return of the booster, and I've sped this up, I think it was 6 times that I sped this up. So this shows you the booster just coming back in for a landing. We've seen this plenty of times before, so I sped it up. You can see the maneuvering thrusters there and those fins just helping to guide it back towards the pad. You can see, or you can't actually quite see the landing pad there, but it is just below it, and it comes all the way down. So the re-entry burn, that's the landing burn there, and boom, down on the ground, just like that, nothing to it. That's awesome. So the last thing here is to go back up to the rocket. This is the looking at from the top of the second stage, looking up into the bottom of the trunk just before the deployment. So let's just roll that, and this is where we see the deployment of the capsule and the trunk together. Off they go. So that's the bottom of the trunk there that I was talking about, that exposed to the vacuum of space, and that is the docking adapter attached in the middle there. So there you go, it's off on its way to the space station. Well, it's actually there now. And it will be there for about a month or so before it returns back down to Earth. And when it comes back down, it will bring various scientific results and stuff with it. So that all went swimmingly well. So a really good mission with some interesting stuff on there. There was also a soccer ball, apparently, on there, as well as the slime. So it was a bit of a playful set of stuff going up this time. I'm not sure what the soccer ball was all about. I don't think it was for them just to play with, but who knows, maybe. So what else do we want to say about that? It was the first reused booster on a CRS mission. That means that it's the first time that NASA has actually paid for a mission that includes a booster that has already been flown. So in the past, NASA wasn't really too keen on that idea, but obviously they've warmed up to it a lot, and they understand that it helps bring down the costs. So that's neat that they are fully on board with the whole reusable thing now. So now let's just have a quick look in at the chats, because I think we've got a few things going on there. John was asking, you want the prize to be the Lego set. Oh, I'd love to, John. I'd love to give you one of those sets, but honestly, it cost us an arm and a leg. We've spent all our Lego budget now, so we can't be giving them any more away. Sorry. Now, you also want to see some Lego updates, and I think that's a very good idea. We will be doing that throughout the show, so it's all looking well spread out there. And Cullen has joined us, so welcome along to the show, Cullen, and I hope you have fun doing the Lego stuff tonight. How's it all looking there, guys? What do you reckon?
Oh, I've done a little.
You've done a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, you made a start. Okay, good stuff. So we'll check in from time to time to see how that was going. Now, there was a couple of other things here. I had a couple of notes here. So Janet was asking, why don't we see asteroids until they get really close, like that one that just passed by Earth? I'm sure that's what prompted that. So asteroids can be really hard to see. When you're looking at, when you're trying to find stuff in space, it's really largely about how bright it is, not how near or how far away it is. So that's a common sort of, I guess, a bit of a misunderstanding when people think about telescopes and looking into space. The most common question I get with the telescope is how far you can see, but it's really all about what's the brightest or faintest thing that you can see. So asteroids, if you imagine an asteroid coming near the Earth and it just happens to be coming at an angle where it's mostly dark, very small, extremely hard to spot. So that's really what it comes down to. It's just not bright enough to be able to see. So it was covered a lot in the news, wasn't it? That asteroid that came, what they called it, the city-killing asteroid that grazed the Earth. I don't think it was quite that bad. It wasn't as alarming as a lot of the news stories made out. But still, it's a good reminder about why we need to be tracking asteroids and staying on the case with that sort of thing. Casey was asking any news from that rover on the dark side of the moon. Sorry, Casey, I don't have an answer for that. We will try and get back to that one. Sorry, I thought I'd quickly go and Google it, but I didn't have time. And John, can we do Lego updates? Yep, so we will keep doing that throughout the show. I can't read that one, sorry, Nana. Why don't they just push the space station into the moon's orbit? I'm not sure why you would want to do that. Why would you want to push the space station to get to the moon? I guess is that what you're asking? Let's go back to the chat. Sorry, someone's asking that. Where is it? See, I'm hopeless at here, clearly clever. Dave, why don't they just push the space station into the moon's orbit? Well, the space station is very close to the Earth. So where's my little Earth here? So if you can imagine the Earth like this, the space station is like this far away. It's right next to the Earth, really. The moon's a long way away. It's completely different, really. The space station is not designed to be able to move around in space like that, and it would be extremely difficult to move from that orbit out to the moon's orbit. You wouldn't even bother trying. So yeah, a number of reasons why you wouldn't be able to do that. A lot of people do ask that question about the space station. When it gets to the end of its life, what are we going to do with it? And people have suggested that maybe we turn it into a mission to Mars or something like that. No, that's just not going to happen. It's a low Earth orbit space station, and that's all it ever could be. You couldn't really do anything else at all with it. Good questions. I wish I had a better answer than that. So, shall we keep moving on with some news, shall we? Where did we get up to? We were talking about SpaceX stuff, and I think we definitely want to be talking about the next thing on this video, and that is the Starhopper. So just a quick recap. The Starhopper is the test vehicle for SpaceX's next generation rocket. So we just saw the Falcon 9 launching before. That's their sort of workhorse rocket that they've been using up to now. They also have the Falcon Heavy, which is the heavy lift version of the Falcon 9. But the next big one that they are working on is the Starship, and the Starhopper that you can see here is the small test version for that. Really, this is generally about testing the engine, I would say. So it's not so much about all the rest of the rocket, but it's about testing the engine, the new Raptor engine that SpaceX is working on. So the first video that we're watching here was one of the tests that they attempted to do, but it was called off when there was an anomaly, that word we hate. But it wasn't really a bad one. It didn't bother them too much. It was just there was something a bit wrong with the pressure, but they just aborted that one and tried again, so no big deal at all. This is why you do the testing. So this is the actual test itself. So this is the untethered hot test that we have been talking about and really looking forward to. So we've previously had a tethered test where it just went up a matter of centimeters, but was held down. This one went up about 20 meters in the air and had no tether or anything with it. Now, unfortunately, all the exhaust plumes here and everything do obscure it a little bit, but you can see it get off the ground up to about 20 meters, and it's all working. Oh, it's a thing of beauty. So this is amazing. I'm really very impressed that they've managed to get this far, this fast with this vehicle, with this engine in particular, because it's a whole new type of engine. So you can just see it back on the pad after that. This is another camera view from much closer. You can see a lot of vibration in this one. Very hard to see what's going on, but you can see that it is a good solid burn there. So it doesn't seem to be any problems at all. So yeah, this is a new, quite innovative type of engine, the Raptor engine, and the fact that it's just going so well is really, really encouraging. So what a great test. And you can see that's just back on the landing pad there. You can't really see it very well there. It didn't really land quite as squarely as it could have done in the middle of the pad. It was actually quite close to the edge of the pad there. But never mind, I would certainly call that an unqualified success, really. It went really well for the most part. Certainly the test itself seems to have gone really well. There were a couple of issues there, or one issue in particular, and that was that they started a bushfire. Which isn't too flash, is it? Gets even worse. They set fire to almost 100 acres of reserve land, wildlife reserve land. Boy, oh boy, that's not too good, SpaceX. Perhaps not quite as bad as it sounds. It appears that there was never any threat at all to any wildlife, so at least that's something. Now, I don't really know the full story behind this, but apparently there were no threat to any wildlife. There were lots of rumours going around after this. It took them quite a long time to get the fire under control, but there were rumours. This is unsubstantiated, but I have heard, for example, that SpaceX had tried to get themselves better prepared for this sort of thing, but were actually held back by government bureaucracy. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that was certainly the rumour that's going around. Locals from around the area seem to be very sympathetic towards SpaceX, and surprisingly, no one really seems to be very upset that they've just set fire to reserve land. But anyway, that's what happened, and I'm not quite sure where we go from there. But hopefully SpaceX will be a little bit better prepared next time, because apparently they just had one fire truck and it wasn't really quite up to the job of putting out that fire. And other sort of related news with SpaceX, the 200-meter hop. So that was a 20-metre hop that we saw there. Apparently Elon's saying that they could be going for the 200-metre hop within the next couple of weeks, which is just astonishing really that it's going this fast. And if that goes ahead, I'm sure we'll get some really great footage from that where it'll get well clear of all those plumes that you saw before. So really exciting stuff for SpaceX. That seems to be going very well. Now Elon is actually due to give a presentation on the status of the whole Starship endeavour within the next couple of weeks. So that indicates to me that he's fairly confident about where things are going and that he's happy to be talking about it. So that's something that we'll definitely be looking forward to. What else? Elon has also said that he reckons he can get to the moon by 2021. Well, we know that Elon likes to be very optimistic. But NASA has actually said, or one of NASA's employees, their chief financial officer, Jeff DeWitt, said that if SpaceX can pull that off, then NASA would be happy to partner with them and get on board and go with them. So, which would blow out everything else that NASA is doing. But I think he sort of made it fairly clear that that's very unlikely to happen. I don't see it. I don't see SpaceX getting to the moon by 2021, but who knows? Could happen. We'll see. Righto, so let's see, we'll just have a quick check in with, our LEGO. How's everything going there? You've got a bit of a control tower or something built there. So we're underway, still got quite a way to go by the looks of it though. How's everything going in the chat? Yes, Sue, you did right. It's not too flashy. Now, I don't actually know much about the land around there, but my understanding was that there wasn't actually any wildlife there anyway. It was just sort of reserved land, so not as bad as it initially sounded, fortunately. Righto, let's keep moving along. So we talked about all the Starhopper stuff. I think that's all the news we've got there. Now, if we just go and have a look at this rather dull-looking document that I've got over here. I don't expect you to read this unless you are interested. You can go and check the link in the show notes. But what this is actually getting at is that NASA has basically given a contract, more or less, to Northrop Grumman to build a minimal Lunar Gateway habitation module. So, you know about the Lunar Gateway. We've talked about that on the show. That's the sort of small version of a space station that NASA wants to orbit the moon to help astronauts get down to the surface of the moon and back up again. Now, they haven't even started building it, and they need it to be ready by 2024 if they're going to go ahead with their current version of their plan to get people on the moon. So what's happening here is that NASA has bypassed the normal process of putting a tender out to get this sort of stuff built, and has just decided to go straight to this one company and say, right, you build it because you look like you are the best ones to get it underway as soon as possible, which is not really how NASA normally does stuff. It's not really how they're supposed to, but in extreme circumstances they are allowed to sort of bypass the normal process. So it's kind of a slightly dodgy area really, but given the time pressure I can see why they've gone ahead and done that. But you can also imagine that other companies that might like to have a slice of this pie would be a little bit upset about it, including Bigelow Aerospace. It's been a while since we've talked about Bigelow Aerospace. This is a private company that is working on space habitats, in particular inflatable space habitats. You may recall us talking about them. They've got a test version of an inflatable habitat that's attached to the space station at the moment, and this is their whole thing. And they would be prime contenders, you would think, to be making stuff for the Lunar Gateway. This is just a little message here. You can go and read the whole thing in the show notes if you want to. The link's there. But Robert Bigelow, the founder of Bigelow Aerospace, is not happy that their company wasn't given a shot at this, and you can understand why. So, but I'd be very surprised if Bigelow wasn't somehow involved in the Gateway, perhaps at a later date. But anyway, as I say, they're doing some really cool stuff. If you haven't checked out their BEAM, B-E-A-M, that's their module that's attached to the space station at the moment. It's an inflatable thing. It goes up there and it expands. It's kind of like living in a balloon in space. Not quite, but it's very cool stuff. So that's what's happening with the Gateway at the moment. Still with NASA stuff here. Now, let's talk about the whole NASA Artemis project to get people to the moon. So NASA has released what they call a pre-solicitation notice for the Human Landing System Integrated Lander. So this graphic here, just NASA's sort of CGI image of what they're looking for. So we've been talking a lot about their whole system, how they're going to get people from Earth to the lunar orbit, the gateway, will they have the gateway or not, getting astronauts back to the moon, down to the moon and back up again. Now, NASA previously has been looking to get individual elements of this whole system, and I'm thinking of the landing system at the moment, and sort of putting it all together. They are now calling for companies to just build the whole thing, from the gateway down onto the surface of the moon and back up again. You can see a lot of stuff going on here with the time pressure, NASA's obviously feeling the heat here and thinking we really need to just get things going as fast as we possibly can. So they're just putting it out there and saying, right, whoever can make us a whole system, you just go for your life. Now that brings to mind, of course, a Blue Moon, Blue Origins thing that we saw a few weeks ago on the show. That basically is more or less a whole integrated system to get down to the moon and back up again. So they'll be all over this. They'll be loving it. So just a few notes I've got here about the plan, so sort of new details that we've got from this latest notice. So that the whole system is a public-private venture, which is a really good way of doing things, I think, for NASA. So it means that they're employing private companies to do things. So any old company can say, yep, we want to do this for you, but they also have to have some skin in the game as well. So they have to invest at the very least 10% of all the cost of the whole thing. In return, they actually get to keep the hardware so they can do their own stuff with the hardware as well. So the idea is that it's supposed to be a win-win. NASA gets their stuff for cheap, private companies get some investment to help them get started, but they're also investing their own money in it. And the idea is that it should bring all the costs down. So NASA is looking to choose a few companies to do this and then whittle it down to probably just 2. And basically, they're looking at it as a 2-phase process. The first phase will be a development of this whole landing system, and that's for a demonstration mission in 2024. So that's the Artemis 3 mission. The first mission to get NASA's how do I say it? I've got to remember to get it right, don't I? The first woman and the next man back on the moon. So that's that one. So 2024 we're going for there. The lander would be transported to the Lunar Gateway in one or more commercial vehicles. So what they're saying is we'll get someone like SpaceX or something to get whatever this lander is, get that to the gateway first, orbiting the moon. Then NASA will get their SLS and Orion spacecraft to get 4 astronauts to the gateway where the lander is already waiting for them. Then 2 of those astronauts will use the lander to get back down onto the moon for just a short stay. How long was it? 6.5 days on the surface of the moon, and then go back up and then come back to Earth again. So that's the Artemis 3 mission that they're hoping for in 2024. Then another option is in 2026 to have a longer mission with a better, more enhanced lander where they will take, was it the same number of astronauts? Take all 4 astronauts down to the surface of the moon and actually be able to stay a whole lunar night on the moon. So that'll be a big breakthrough. We've certainly never done that before. So they'll want to stay for the whole 14 days of the lunar night, and presumably a bit longer than that as well. So whether or not that mission will actually happen or not is unclear, but to be honest, whether or not any of this happens is unclear, because I think the big thing in all of this, in that notice, was the total funding available is yet to be determined. And that's the problem, isn't it? That's the sticking point. We've got all these wonderful plans, it all looks really, really good, but it's not going to go anywhere without any money. And we've talked about that enough on the show before. As you know, I'm a little bit pessimistic that Congress is going to get behind all of this and give NASA the money that it actually needs. So the decision for all of this, for the contract for the lander, is due no earlier than December this year. So it's a little while away yet. But we'll wait till December to see what is happening. So that was pretty much, I think, everything we needed to say about the latest on the Artemis mission. Right, let's just have a quick look at what's happening with chats, and I've got lots more notes here. I think we've answered that one. a meteor or something unusual over Waikato last week. Someone saw a meteor, did you? I'm sorry, I didn't see that, and I didn't hear about it either, actually. Normally I do hear. So, righto, hang on, let's just go back up here a little bit. Right, there's lots and lots of comments in here, isn't it? So, sorry guys, let me just quickly whiz through here a little bit. I'm going to have a hard time keeping... I love Lego. I tell you what, it's gutting me that these guys are getting to do the Lego without me. But I thought it would be a little bit of fun to do it like this. Right, so... The booster landings are good, aren't they? Right, here we go. Some people were running in Cambridge last Tuesday or Thursday and saw a meteor. No, right, so sorry, I didn't hear anything at all about that. If anyone else saw a meteor or anything interesting, please feel free to let us know. You're sorry, that's the prize. The comp is guessing how long it will take to build a Lego set. Yep, so you were waiting for that thing to hop, Jay. Well, it kind of hopped. It was just a long, think of it as a long, slow hop. Now, Driver Lance is saying there was a Facebook post by a photographer who had his remote static camera melted by the bushfire. He salvaged the SD card so you could see the fire advancing. Oh, well, thanks for that, Lance. I'll have to go and look that one up. The Alaska Spaceport. I don't know, that one's passed me by, sorry, Jay. If anyone can tell me about the Alaska Spaceport, let me know. Nat is saying Trump is an extreme circumstance. Certainly got that right. I've got to be careful not to get political. That's me. I don't care if you guys get political, that's fine. K-Bolt 44. NASA always seems to be under pressure. A shame considering the amazing work they've done. I really feel for NASA, They're a real political football. It's such a shame that things keep changing for them all the time. It must be so frustrating. You go for years and years just going around in circles, then suddenly there's this big panic. You have to do this in such a short time frame that you can't possibly be expected to succeed. But then the next president will come in and just change all the rules again. It's just... It frustrates me, but I guess it is what it is. I think I'm almost caught up. Time for a rant. I was just about to have a rant there, wasn't it? Casey, you know what I was supposed to say, the first woman and the next man.
Dave, there's a message there from John Campman.
Yep.
To group call ASAP.
Oh, to group call. You on the Google Hangouts, was it? Sorry about that. Now, look. I didn't actually have the Google Hangouts set up, and look, sorry John, I just haven't even had time to think about how the group Hangouts work, so I don't even know how it works. And I had actually meant to say that at the start of the show. I don't think we were going to have a chance to try the Google Hangouts tonight. Sorry about that, and especially John, I know that you wanted to share those photos with us last week, so look, we will get back to that. If we get time tonight, we'll try and have a quick go at it, but honestly, well, let's try and whiz through the rest of our news and stuff, and we'll see if we will get a chance to have a look at that. So where were we up to the news? I definitely wanted to mention this one because, you know, the Lightsail project that we've been talking about, the Planetary Society's mission, so they have deployed their sail. Oh, really cool. Good stuff, guys. So the Planetary Society's mission, this was the a demonstration mission to try and deploy a solar sail to see if you could use it to propel move satellites around an Earth's orbit. So they have deployed the sail. You can see a few images there of it. So that'll seem to go really well. So what a great result. And we'll just be keeping an eye on that really to see how it goes over the course of its mission. It's actually a cool website here, the Planetary Society's website. The link's in the show notes. You can actually, I think if I just go back, they've got one of these cool things where you can keep an eye on everything that's happening with it. So you can see a map there, so you can see where it is at the moment above the Earth. It'll be interesting to see, as you look at, it's not going to go over New Zealand, is it? It's the wrong kind of orbit. That's a shame. But it would be interesting to see how visible it was from the Earth. But there's a whole lot of other information there that you can find out about the mission as it progresses. So they're doing an awesome job of that. Over to China. China, the first private space company in China to achieve orbit. So we've talked a little bit previously about the Chinese, both the government and private companies in China. So yeah, just a quick mention there. Things are progressing in China. Like I keep saying, they're going to be a powerhouse in space. They really are. We'll keep moving on though. Let's have a couple of depressing stories, just in case you were in a good mood. France to develop anti-satellite laser weapons. Ugh, really? This is worrying because, once one country starts doing this kind of thing, they all keep saying, oh, we're not in an arms race. We're not interested in an arms race in space. That's what the Indians said recently. The Chinese have said the same thing. But this is a worrying development. And of course, they're all coming out with the same old stuff about we'll only use it in self-defense and blah, blah. But it shouldn't be happening. And the general public doesn't even know it's happening. This isn't reported in the mainstream media. And it worries me a lot that we're just starting bit by bit to get more military applications in space. I've always been a little bit pragmatic about spy satellites. I don't like the idea. I don't think anyone likes the idea of spy satellites, but I do accept that there is a place for surveillance in space. We want to monitor whaling, for example. We want to know what ships are out there doing illegal whaling. Well, that's surveillance, that's spying in a way, and that's, we need this kind of technology to be able to do that sort of stuff. We want to monitor our fisheries, we want to monitor all sorts of stuff, but this is not good. I don't like it at all. Don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's talk about something else, which is also depressing. I left all the bad news for the end of the news. This is something that I've really been hesitant to talk about, but I'm sure a lot of you have heard about or are aware of this issue. So in Hawaii, on the volcano of Mauna Kea, this is a unique astronomical site in the world, actually. So there's a bunch of observatories on this mountain, and there's always been a little bit of conflict here between the astronomical community that's behind these observatories there and the local native Hawaiian community. And one of the reasons I've been really reluctant to talk about this is, frankly, I just don't know enough about it. And all my information is secondhand at best, really third-hand. And I just don't feel like I've got enough of a handle on it. So I'm really interested if anyone out there knows more about this, more than what you can glean from just all the stuff online, because I've never really spoken to anyone who actually has first-hand knowledge of this. There's all sorts of rumors and discussions and accusations and all sorts of carry on, but essentially what's going on is that there's this conflict between some locals who feel that this mountain shouldn't be used at all by people, certainly not by astronomers. It's a sacred site, so yeah, okay, wow. But it's also a uniquely suited site on Earth for astronomy. There's nowhere else on the planet quite as good as this for certain astronomical applications. So it's a really tough one. My understanding is that the astronomers that have worked there have been good stewards and have been very accommodating. I don't believe there have been any serious problems up there. But it's come to a head, especially with the 30-meter telescope, this new enormous telescope that's supposed to be being built up there, and it's all been put on hold and delayed. And not only that, but it's been shutting down the other observatories as well, and we're losing scientific research and data as a result of all of this. So, I don't know what to make of this. I'd be interested in hearing your guys' comments about this. I hate putting you guys in the audience on the spot, but does anyone in the audience want to comment on this at all? Oh, wait, does anyone even know anything about it? Had you guys heard about anything about this before? It is a really, really tricky one. So I'm tempted to talk about some of the rumors that I've heard, but I don't really want to. I mean, you can imagine the sort of thing that I'm talking about. There are people on each side making vague, generalized accusations about people on the other side, and you just don't know, do you? If you're not there, if you're not part of it, you don't know. My understanding of it is that the Hawaiian population in general, the surveys that I've seen have said that Hawaiians are quite strongly in support of the astronomical community. However, I've never really seen anything that talks about the makeup of the people who would identify as native Hawaiians versus others who just happen to be living there now. My understanding is that in the native Hawaiian community, there is general support for the astronomical missions there, but I just don't know. So I thought it was I shouldn't keep avoiding that issue because it is quite a big issue in the astronomical community, especially because of this whole thing with the 30-meter telescope. It's an enormous project. It's kind of like one of the biggest things that's supposed to be happening in astronomy, and it's all being held up because of this. So I wonder if anyone in the chat's saying anything about it. Not on Facebook. The Alaska Spaceport is a Rocket Lab initiative. Not in Alaska. Rocket Lab is over on the other side. It's on the east coast of the States. Rocket Lab's new space launch facility. Unless I'm missing something that I don't know about. Google Rocket Lab Alaska. It is a planned, eh? Okay. Maybe I've got that completely wrong. I know there's a couple of Rocket Lab employees who watch this show. I was not aware of Rocket Lab doing anything in Alaska, but I could be wrong on that one. Righto. Let's see what the YouTube guys are saying. I think I've got a little bit behind on here, on the chat here, haven't I? Yes, you're right about, I mean, we're well aware here in New Zealand, aren't we, of the conflict between with land claims and stuff like that. It's a hard one. I don't really like talking about it, but I think it is something that does need to be talked about. Right, so there's a few comments there in the YouTube chat. I'll let you guys just read them for yourselves. Casey's saying it's a bit late for a protest. It's a hard one, that one, because they did go through the whole process. That's the frustrating thing. They went through all the negotiations and everything. It took years, and they came to what they thought was an agreement that everyone had agreed on, but not only now, but now the protests are really coming out of the woodwork, and it's a tricky one. It's a very tricky one. Right, Jay's saying, look, it's at the Alaskan spaceport, going USA wide soon. Trump is going to let the serious protocols come out to an awful conclusion. Okay, thanks for that, Jay. Righto, okay, let's talk about something completely different. I think that was actually all the news that we wanted to get through tonight, so I'm kind of hoping that we might get back to the Google Hangouts, but we do quickly need to talk about what is happening in the night sky. So let's go over and have a look at Stellarium. Software that we use to see what is in the night sky, and I think we have got the setup for what's happening right now. So if we look out towards the east right now, you see a couple of things up there, Jupiter and Saturn. The planets, if you're interested in going and having a look at them, are very obvious in the sky right now and throughout the whole night pretty much. So they're well worth looking at, but you may have seen in the news that there are some meteor showers. So in Stellarium, you can actually set it to show or hide meteor showers. Down the bottom there, you just see that button there turns off the meteor showers. So probably the one of interest to us at the moment is the Southern Delta Aquariids meteor shower. Now, as you may have heard me say before, to be honest, me personally, I don't actually get that excited by meteor showers, but I know some people do, so I guess it is definitely worth a mention. So if you want to get out there, this is probably a pretty good one to be having a look at, actually. So there's a couple of showers happening at the moment. We've got the Southern Delta Aquariids, and we can expect to see maybe up to about 20 meteors per hour with this particular one. So this is the big reality check with meteor showers. You see a lot of photos on the internet about these meteor showers, and you kind of see they're time-lapse ones, and you see all of these. It's kind of like a Star Wars kind of scene, is looking like you're flying through space with all these meteors flying around, but it's not actually like that. When you actually go out there and watch a meteor shower, you'll see one meteor, then you wait until you see another one, and they come at most about every minute or so. In fact, the other one that's sort of in the news a little bit at the moment is the Perseids, which is really more of a northern hemisphere meteor shower, but you get a lot with that one. You can get about one a minute, but that's about the best you can hope for. And to be honest, most of the meteors in these showers aren't really that spectacular, so go out and have a look. I think you should definitely go and try and see a few meteor showers in your life, but just don't get your hopes up too much, because yeah, they're pretty cool. But yeah, that's about all we can say about that. I think that's all I wanted to say about the night sky at the moment. So what I'm thinking is I'm actually going to, while I just check on the chats again, I'm going to open up my Google Hangouts over here. And so I see, look, okay, if you want to try with the Google Hangout, feel free to give it a go right now. But honestly, I was even less prepared for this than I normally am, so we'll just see how it goes. In the meantime, I'm just going to wait for that for a moment, because I actually think I've just about used up all the news that I was going to talk about tonight. Yeah, Casey, I know a lot of people are saying that, eh? It's, the agreements have been made, and that's what makes it particularly tricky, doesn't it? Righto, so Alan's just brought me something over here. Thank you for this, Alan. This is about the Alaska thing, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rocket Lab announced July 10th. Oh, so this is a recent thing. 4 potential locations for an American launch site for its Electron rocket. Okay, I did not know any of this. I'm not sure how this passed me by, but thank you for this. So the company said it had shortlisted Cape Canaveral, Alaska, Vandenberg Air Force Base, and Wallops Flight Facility. Well, they've already gone with that one, though, haven't they? Yeah, so the Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia is the one that I was talking about before, which I'm sure they've already broken ground on. Someone can check me if I've got that wrong. So Rocket Lab said it will select from amongst these 4 sites for the complex in August and start construction immediately thereafter. And we're hoping to be ready to host its first launch in the second quarter of... First launch in the second quarter of 2019. What? What's going... This is a year ago. This is from last year. This is old news. I think that's what's happening here. I think what we've seen is something that's already happened, and that they've already chosen Wallops. Yeah, that's why. Thank you very much for that, Alan. I think that clarifies that. I think I'm assuming from all of that the Alaskan one was one that they had previously looked at but had discounted in favour of Wallops in Virginia. So the Meteor Shower didn't. So Afina is asking, is the Meteor Shower tonight? Yes, in fact, unfortunately, it has already technically peaked a night or 2 ago, but it's still around, so you'll definitely be able to see it tonight. Let's just go back and have another look at Stellarium and just make sure I'm looking at now. This is where we are now, and hang on, if we just come out here a little bit. So. They're originating over there sort of in the east, and if we just go forward a little bit of time, we'll just speed time up a little bit so you can see where it's going to go throughout the night. So it rises a little bit there. So now, just to be clear, when you're watching a meteor shower, I'm showing you there where it's coming from, but that doesn't mean all the meteors appear to be coming from that point. They can actually appear sort of all over the place, really, but sort of coming from that direction. So if you're just looking out sort of towards the east, give it a go and see how you get on. I mean, it'd be interesting if anyone wanted to go out right now and see if they could see any. But there's not a lot per hour. You're sort of going to have to be waiting. You'll be waiting a few minutes between each one before you see anything. There you go. So I'm just having a look at our Google Hangouts as well. And I'm not seeing any activity over there. So yeah, we'll see what's happening. Right. Okay, I don't think there's any other new comments that we've got there. Let's check in on the Lego because we haven't seen how that's going. How are you guys going with the Lego? Are we making much progress there? Okay, it's kind of looking all right, but I think we're going to be pushing it to have this finished in 2 episodes, are we, guys? Floyd, what do you reckon? How well are you guys doing on this?
We're doing great.
You're doing great.
Yep.
I'm not convinced. It's just as a bit of an update for the guys at home. Do you reckon that you'll have this finished within 2 episodes? What do you think, Floyd? Do you reckon you'll have it finished by the end of next episode?
Come on, commit.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Maybe.
Okay, so what are you actually working on there? Is that still part of the launch? Oh, I know what that is. That's part of like the assembly building or whatever it is. So you haven't even actually started on any of the rocket or transporter yet. So yeah, look, okay, that's enough of that. We'll just keep an eye on that and we'll leave it all set up, or we'll have to pack it away somewhere and we'll come back to it next week because obviously it's not going to be finished tonight. Now, I'm just seeing over in our Google Hangouts. So because we've got a couple of minutes, or we've got a few minutes before the end of the show here, let's see if we can make this work. John, so what? Oh, look, I'm hopeless. Honestly, I can't figure out what I'm supposed to click here to make this work. Video call. Okay. Nah. Oh, no, look, it's not going to happen. Sorry, John. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. I think we need to get on with the competition. How's our competition looking over there?
Very good.
Very good. You think, see, look, we haven't come to you all night over there. We've left you alone over there. How's everything been going, all right?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay, so we're ready to do the competition draw?
Oh, no, I've got another one just come through.
Another one just come through. Okay, so look, we'll just leave that for the sec. I'll tell you what, while we just get that ready, let's just go and have a look at my Google Hangouts window over here. Maybe someone help me out here. What am I supposed to do? John is trying to share some of the photos over here with us from his recent trip to Australia. Let's see if we can have, let's at least do this. So, John, if you could maybe even just post in the chat, because I can't figure out how to connect to you. No, it's a fail. It's another fail. Absolutely hopeless. I've got no idea what I'm supposed to be doing here. We could have a look at a few of the photos that you've got. These look pretty cool. Okay. No, I've got no idea how I'm supposed to. So I'm thinking you're supposed to click on that, but no, that's what happens. I'm just showing myself there. So look, we're just going to abandon that altogether. That's going to be a fail. So how are we going with the competition? Do you think we're just about ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the draw for the competition, shall we? So just as a reminder, the prize for tonight's competition was the periodic table mug. This is the one here. So it's a cool mug. It's not a colour changing one like the other mug that we had, but it's a pretty cool prize. So we'll get someone to pull a name out of the astronaut helmet there. Oh, looks like we're about ready to move on to the next phase of the Lego, are we? Looks like something's happening there.
Which one? Let's do that. That one? That one? Right.
Right, and I promise everyone I will do my best to try and figure out Google Hangouts for next week. So the winner of the mug this week is Tristan. Well done, Tristan. This mug is all yours. So if you could just drop us a private message and let us know where to post that to. And while I think about it, there's, who was the other one? I've got, I think all but 2 prizes have been sent out. I think from the last couple of weeks I haven't actually sent your prizes out yet. So apologies to you guys for that. But we'll get, hopefully tomorrow, actually, I'll be able to get into town tomorrow. Right, now Jay, what are you saying there? It's been a good show, but do look into the space fence from Lockheed Martin. Okay then, righto, I'll try and remember to look into that for you. Thanks for that one, Jay. Now, K-Bot 44 works in a similar manner to Skype. Okay, now I did get Google Hangouts going recently, but for some reason this time I don't know, whenever I clicked on it, I was just getting feedback and stuff. So look, we will try and check it out before next week. So anyway, look, I think with that, unless anyone in the audience has anything else they wanted to talk about or bring up, we're all happy. Okay, so we're just about at 8 o'clock anyway, so last quick look at the chat, and I just want to say thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully... How can we get to the moon if we can't Google Hangout? I don't know why I even brought up the Google Hangouts without having any idea of what I was doing with it. Absolutely hopeless, honestly. Anyway, it's all in good fun, so I'm glad that you guys are happy to bear with me on this sort of stuff. So anyway, I think we're going to call it a night and say thank you very much for everyone joining in tonight and all your comments and everything. And I don't think there's anything else we want to say, so we'll say thank you very much to our studio audience, to the guys on the Lego there, well done. Nana, Steph, you did a great job over there in the background. It didn't all go up in flames, so very well done. Thank you very much, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you all back again same time next week. See you later.